Hey folks, Congresswoman Hillary Scholten back with another episode of Straight Talk with Scholten. We're taking a pause in our HR 1 breakdown series just for this week to discuss an incredibly pressing current event and something I have a good deal of expertise on. Immigration. The protests in LA and around the country against immigration and customs enforcement, or ICE, raids, as well as the reaction by the Trump administration to these protests, is dominating the news cycle. Lives are at risk and businesses are being destroyed. Since last Friday, June 6th, there have been repeated clashes between protesters, federal agents, and members of the National Guard, as well as local law enforcement officers. The protests began in response to ICE-led immigration raids in the Fashion District near downtown LA. California Governor Gavin Newsom called the raids chaotic federal sweeps that aimed to fill an arbitrary arrest quota. ICE has said they were continuing to enforce immigration law in LA. The Trump administration responded by ordering 2,000 members of the National Guard and around 700 Marines to LA against the objections of the governor and LA Mayor Karen Bass. That's when Border Czar Tom Homan threatened Newsom and Mayor Karen Bass with arrest if they impeded troop deployment. What country are we living in? The deployment marked the first time that a president mobilized the state's National Guard without a governor's consent in over 50 years. The last time this happened was when President Lyndon Johnson did so in 1965, sending troops to Alabama to protect civil rights demonstrators marching from Selma to Montgomery. Much different set of circumstances. I want to say a few things about this. First, I cannot condemn the violence in strong enough terms in the streets. Second, individuals have a right to peaceful demonstration, and individuals are rightly concerned about what's happening with immigration enforcement right now. While many Americans voted for Trump because they wanted action on immigration, his methods are unpopular. A new Quinnipiac poll out just this week shows Trump underwater on immigration, and he's lost 5 points on the issue since April. Now, that doesn't mean the majority of Americans like what Dems have to offer either. Republicans are actually still beating Democrats on this issue. To me, that means we have work to do and solutions to find. So let me give it to you straight. As protests near the week-long mark and are currently expanding to other cities, I really want to take a moment to comment on this underlying issue. We have to remember something so important. This did not have to happen. We did not have to be here. Congress could have and should have acted previously to prevent this. Let's go back. In February of 2024, after months of negotiations, senators struck a deal on a bipartisan border bill. However, Trump, who was campaigning on the time, killed the bill because he wanted to be able to campaign on fixing our immigration system. We have seen no solutions. Instead, he's sending our own military to LA to quash protests. We are in this moment because of a long broken immigration system. Both sides are to blame. Congress has the authority to act and the responsibility to act. We have to reform our immigration system to ensure that clashes like this don't happen in the future. We're putting an unnecessary burden on our communities. Immigration is an economic issue, a humanitarian issue, and a national security issue. The U.S. is home to 1/5 of the world's international migrants, and foreign-born populations have reached 47.8 million in 2023. The immigration share in the U.S. population is approximately 14%. There are almost 22.7 million residents living with one immigrant parent. It is the beautiful tapestry of our country, and we have to work to ensure that we can live up to the promise. In 2022, immigrants paid $550 billion in taxes. The U.S. is home to over 3.5 million immigrant entrepreneurs. They contribute significantly to this economy. I spent 20 years working on immigration issues, and I remain committed to creating a system that's both fair and humane, balancing humanitarian concerns with the rightful ability to enforce our immigration laws. During my time in Congress, I've worked with my Democratic colleagues as well as my colleagues across the aisle to try and find comprehensive immigration solutions. This includes a bill that I'm leading called the Dignity Act. This is the only bipartisan comprehensive immigration reform plan in Congress. The legislation would provide individuals a pathway to legal status for individuals who pass a background check here in the United States, individuals who are currently still living in the shadows. It would provide resources to strengthen our southern border by providing infrastructure, personnel, and technology to stop illegal immigration. It would dramatically reform our asylum system so individuals with a true claim and a fear can find America's promise of safe harbor. And it also finds solutions for our labor crisis by streamlining visa application processes. Again, I worked alongside both parties last Congress on this bill. And while it has not been introduced again in this current Congress, we are very close to reintroduction. And I'm so excited about the solution that this will provide. We can and we must have an immigration system that is just, fair, efficient, and humane. This includes holding those who violate our immigration laws and our criminal laws here in the United States accountable, and ensuring that individuals who are fleeing their country because of persecution can continue to find safe harbor in our shores. It also ensures that in an increasingly globalized world, we have an immigration system that can keep pace with a 21st century economy. I've worked on this issue, both walking hand in hand, representing individual asylum seekers when they seek protection, as well as enforcing our nation's immigration laws at the nation's top law enforcement agency, the Department of Justice. If you're listening to this and you think this sounds right, we invite you to our team. This is Team Solutions, Team Pragmatism. This is what we are all about on Team Scholten. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you next week.